A very, very beautiful Monday morning to you and a warm welcome to the press, reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Olamide Alhassan. And you know how we do it on the press. So first of all, bring you the updates on the weather forecast. And afterwards, we give you everything that's happening on the front page of the national dailies. And then we bring in a guest to analyze on most of the top stories that make it to the front page of the newspaper headlines. And of course, that's also the segment where you get to call us on the show to express how you feel and exactly what you think about most of the trending topics. So right about now, I'm going to give you updates on the weather forecast. And to begin the weather forecast, we're going to start from the core north, as I usually prefer to do. And on the front page, in Kano State, we have on the average about 25 degrees Celsius for this morning. It's partly cloudy with the highest at 34 degrees Celsius and the lowest at 24 degrees Celsius. And cloudy conditions are expected around 10 a.m. with wind gusts which are up to 30 kilometers per hour. And that's it for Kano State this morning. And from Kano State, we're going to Kaduna State. In Kaduna, it says on the average about 23 degrees Celsius. It's mostly cloudy, with the highest at 30 degrees Celsius and the lowest at 22 degrees Celsius. And it says partly cloudy conditions are expected around 11 a.m. and wind gusts are up to 26 kilometers per hour. And from Kaduna State, now let's move on to the southeastern part of Nigeria. Representing is Imo State, and Imo State says 24 degrees Celsius on the average. It's currently cloudy with the highest at 30 degrees Celsius and the lowest at 23 degrees Celsius. And it says rainy conditions are expected around 3 p.m. as wind gusts are up to 9 kilometers per hour. You probably want to get ready for the rains. And from Imo State, we move on to Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt says 25 degrees Celsius on the average. It's currently cloudy with the highest at 30 degrees Celsius and the lowest at 23 degrees Celsius. And rainy conditions are expected around 3 p.m. and wind gusts are up to 8 kilometers per hour in Port Harcourt. So it's also very likely to rain in Port Harcourt today at 3 p.m. And now to the commercial nerve center of Nigeria, Lagos State. Lagos State says on the average it's about 25 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, with the highest at 29 degrees Celsius and the lowest at 25 degrees Celsius. And rainy conditions are expected around 8 a.m. as wind gusts are up to 10 kilometers per hour. So which means that it's most likely currently raining in Lagos or would still rain eventually. But whichever one, let's see what the Federal Capital Territory says. And that's pretty different. It says on the average it's about 23 degrees Celsius. It's mostly cloudy. The highest is at 30 degrees Celsius and the lowest is at 22 degrees Celsius. And it says partly cloudy conditions expected around 3 p.m. as wind gusts are up to 15 kilometers per hour. So wherever in the country you may be, you need to ensure you're getting ready for the weather as you step out this morning, so you know just how best to get your day started or even how best to get yourself ready for the weather today. And that's it for the weather forecast. Now let's see what's on the front page of our national dailies to see what happened over the weekend and what made it to the front page of the papers this morning. We'll begin with some punchy headlines on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Quite scanty stories though. The story we have here is pastoral crisis. 11 states embrace FG ranching plan as killing surge. The truth is, people keep asking, is human life is cattle life or cow life way valuable than human lives? That's something to ask yourself. Well, we find that story on the front page of the Punch newspaper, and more riders to the story says governors offer lands at Adamawa, Bayelsa, others cautious. Farmers reject open grazing. And that's on page 2 of the paper for you this morning. And that's it on the front page of the Punch. Like I said, quite scanty stories. And now to the Nation, the same scanty story as well. The Nation newspaper has little to nothing to actually offer from the front page, except for the fact that we have President Tinubu Commission's newly constructed A2 junction from Abuja to Lokoja today to Pi Town. I beg your pardon, President Tinubu Commission's newly constructed A2 junction from Abuja to Lokoja to Pi Town today. And that's on the front page of the Nation. And that's more like the only story we have on the front page. And now the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Senate begins nationwide public hearing on Constitution review. This is a long coming conversation. And I can't believe that we're still here, still talking about public hearings when we should probably be talking about implementation or probably already drafting of the Constitution? Well, that's on page 22 for your read this morning. And now 2027, controversy trails application to register ADA. No decision yet on party adoption, says Atiku. ADC National Chairman disowns ADA, says coalition's platform may be unveiled this week. And that's on page 22 for your read. And that's it on the front page of the Punch of the Nigerian Tribune. Now let's take other stories on other national dailies that we have today. And on the front page of the Daily Trust, it's a newspaper you can trust. And on the Daily Trust for this morning, we have boldly saying Plateau killings. Death toll hits 13 as survivors narrate ordeal. Victims buried in Mangu, Quran, says Pan. I'll take that again. Victims buried in Mangu, Quran, Pan. And that's on the front page of the paper this morning. And now we have other stories. Now let's move on to other papers for this morning as we find the Vanguard. The Vanguard says insecurity. Tinubu orders action on insurgents, Plateau killings. Tinubu orders action on insurgents, Plateau killings, and that's on page 37 for your read this morning. Iran votes to close Strait of Hormuz after U.S. strikes on nuclear facilities. Iran votes to close Strait of Hormuz after U.S. strikes on nuclear facilities, and that's on page 5 for your read this morning. And moving on from there, we have the Blueprint. Blueprint newspaper says, new ECOWAS president bio seeks unity, inclusive growth. New ECOWAS president bio seeks unity, inclusive growth. And that's on page 8 for your read this morning. And now we move on to The Guardian. The Guardian has quite a number of stories for you to read this morning. It says, Israel war Iran. Israel-Iran war, I beg your pardon. Israel-Iran war. Hope for Nigeria's troubled fiscal outlook as oil prices head to $80. Hope for Nigeria's troubled fiscal outlook as oil prices head to $80. And now ECOWAS, bio to champion democracy, security, and regional reform. That's on page 4 for your read. APC silent as PDP dismisses formation of ADA. That's on page 4. Lamido differs with Niem over Tinubu's role in June 12 annulment, and that's on page 9. Israel-Iran tensions shake markets. Sanwo-Olu to meet APC stakeholders ahead of LG polls, and that's on page 7. Now, cloud bursts. Ogun government urges calm as lightning skew 32 cows. And that's on page 7. Obi Atiku decry rising insecurity as Tinubu northern governors condemn killings. And that's on page 6 for your read. Insecurity escalates in Yenagoa. Judge abducted man confesses to killing toddler. This is so unfortunate. And that's on page 12 for your read this morning. Nigeria losing $500 million yearly to abandoned container at ports, says SEREC warns. Nigeria losing $500 million yearly to abandoned containers at ports, SEREC warns. And that's on page 5 for your read this morning. Well, now let's move on from the Guardian newspaper to see what the Liberty has for us. Voice of Liberty says, Senate begins nationwide public hearing on Constitution review. Senate begins nationwide public hearings on Constitution review. And there's this excerpt that says the Senate Committee on Review of the 1999 Constitution is set to organize a comprehensive 2-day zonal public hearing in the country's 6 geopolitical zones. That's on the front page of the paper for your read this morning. And now ECOWAS, Sierra Leone President Bayo succeeds Tinubu as president. And that's on the front page of the paper this morning. 2027, Tinubu eyeing Kwankwaso as possible Shettima replacement, says insiders. This is a long conversation coming. You probably will be much more interested in it, and we're probably going to be talking about it this morning. Now, PDP insists NEC meeting will hold. rejects INEC interference, and that's on the front page as well for your read. Iran's bombing. U.S. lawmakers call for Trump's impeachment. 2027, no time for new party, says Babachir Lawal. FG invests 200 billion naira in agriculture, distributes free fertilizers. Tinubu supported June 12 annulment, not part of pro-democracy struggle, says Lamido, and presidency counters claim. And that's on the front page of the paper. And now to Daily Independent. Daily Independent says, struggling banks face hurdles to navigate recapitalization. About 10 lenders under CBN watch for recapitalization risk. That's on the front page. PFA's record good showing on ROI in first half of 2025 amid economic headwinds. Pencom Mall's strategy to strengthen regulation, pension and penetration. That's on page 7. Now, FG backs construction of $400 million solid mineral plant, eyes 10,000 jobs. And that's on page 29 for your read. Our fiscal authority can raise revenue, cut borrowing by Analyst. You probably want to read that on page 13. Presidency berates Lamido for saying Tinubu backed June 12 annulment, and that's on page 7. And now Serap asks Tinubu to seek ICC intervention in Benue massacre. That's on page 6. ECOWAS chair. Tinubu hands over to Sierra Leone's Julius Maada Bio and ask body to build prosperous, secure, united region. That's on page 6. Airlines link increase in fares to price of Jet A1 at 1,315 naira per liter. Says product more expensive in Nigeria than US. Well, that's on the front page for your read this morning. PDP accuses INEC of plots to destabilize NEC meeting, and that's on page 6 for your read. And that's it on the front page of the Daily Independent. And now to the Matrix. Matrix has June 12 annulment claims. Presidency bombs Lamido. Disappointing that Lamido would attempt to rewrite history for political reasons. Lamido and Ney wrote their names in Book of Infamy by negotiating with Abacha, and that's on page 2. Well, more would be developing from that story, I'm pretty sure of that. And our FG pledges support for construction of $400 million solid mineral plant. Says projects will create 10,000 new jobs, domestic processing of minerals. And that's on the front page for your read. Israel-Iran conflict, crude price to hit $130 according to experts. U.S. urges China to dissuade Iran from closing Strait of Hormuz, and that's on page 3. Terrorism, Tinubu expresses worries over slow pace of ECOWAS standby force, and that's on page 9. Tinubu bows out as ECOWAS chair. Sierra Leone's President Bio takes over, and that's on page 2. UTME mop-up examination for 96,838 candidates to hold June 28th, according to JAM, and that's on page 21. Davido accuses Ibiza nightclub security of attempted attack, and that's on page 20. Tinubu condemns lynching of 12 travelers in Plateau, Borno suicide attack, and that's on page 3 for your read. CWC, Man City trash Al Ain 6-0 to qualify for round of 16. And that's on page 22 for your read this morning. Now, the picture story you find here is of change of guard at ECOWAS. Former president of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria, handed over the baton of leadership to the new chairman, President Julius Maada Bio of Sierra Leone, at the end of ECOWAS Authority's 67th ordinary session in Abuja yesterday. Well, that's all leave it for the front page of the Matrix. And now to the Nigerian News Direct. We have appeal court judgment. Showdown as PDP chairs set to resume at Secretariat today. That's on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. Now, as writer says, as APC accuses PDP of planning violent takeover, we are still in charge as duly elected chairman, APC chairman, and that's on page 21. Beyond the pulpit, our pastor Enecha's rejection of 30 million naira redefines church and state boundaries. That's on the front page. Falsehood, envy, revisionism. Presidency rips Lamido apart over June 12. Now, FG backs establishment of plants with $400 million FDI projection. Tinubu bows out, hands over to Mada Bayo as new ECOWAS chair. That's it on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. And now let's head on to the first news. The first news says we must act now to save Nigeria. Obi slams Tinubu over insecurity and corruption. That's on the front page of First News. Massacre in Plateau, 22 arrested as mobbed wedding guests buried amid tight security. May the souls of the departed rest in perfect peace. Amen. UK backs US strikes on Iran over nuclear threat as China urges ceasefire. Transfer, he's making US wait. Galatasaray, I beg your pardon. Transfer, he's making us wait. Galatasaray VP frustrated over Osimhen's delay, and that's on the front page for your read. Now, lightning strike kills 32 cows in Ogun during heavy rainfall. And now to other stories. Panic in Yenago as High Court judge kidnapped by gunmen. ICC should investigate Benue killing, Serap tells Tinubu. And JAMB sets June 28 for 2025 UTME mop-up examination. And that's it on the front page of First News as we head on to the Daily Times. Now, Daily Times has something quite different. It says INEC can stop our 100th NEC meeting, says PDP. Interesting. And that's on page 7 for your read this morning. Buying babies, the ethical storm around surrogacy and women's bodies. That's on page 15. Constitution review, Senate holds public hearing July 4th and 5th in geopolitical zones. How gunmen kidnapped state judge E.G. Umukoro in Bayelsa, says eyewitness, and that's on page 6. Railway vandals jail 3 years with hard labor. That's on page 7. FCMB real launch 100 billion naira loan push to power 2 million homes. I'll take that again. FCMB real launch 100 billion naira loan push to power 2 million homes, and that's on page 33 for your read. And that's it on the front page of the Daily Times as we head on to the New Telegraph. Now, New Telegraph says, breaches, global scarce as 16 billion naira Apple, Google orders passwords exposed. Oh my goodness, that's pretty much risky. Breaches, global scare as 16 billion Apple, Google orders password exposed. Expert says records likely compiled by cyber criminals or white hat hackers. Advise immediate change of countersign, two-factor authentication. And that's on page 2. Bank of New York to deepen access to Nigeria's local debt market. That's on the front page. FG unveils revenue optimization to boost economic growth. And that's on page 25 for your read. Food inflation, governors back FG to dismantle illegal checkpoints. That's on page 3. Public officials concealing critical financial records, says IBAS, and that's on page 6 and 7. Alleged terrorism, FG closes case against Nnamdi Kanu. I have no case to answer, says IPOB leader, and that's on page 2. Now, Israel threatens Iran's top leader after missiles damage hospital, injures more than 200. And that's on page 4 for your read. Terrorism. ECOWAS strikes deal with Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger on security. And that it says No tariff barriers hindering regional trade and investment. That's on page 3. Now, military not occupying force, says FG. Military security agencies working to end insecurity, says CDS. DHQ says 6,260 terrorists killed, 5,365 hostages rescued in 2 years. SMBLF kicks against FG's plan for forest guard, and that's on page 4, 6, and 28 for your read. Alleged defamation, court admits Senator Natasha to 50 million naira bail, fixes September 23rd for trial. Flood alerts, relocate to higher ground now. Niger government tells communities. Now, infertility linked to heart problems in women, says study, and that's on page 28 for your read. And that's it for the front page of our national dailies. It's time to go on a quick break. When we return, to be joined by a guest for analysis of most of the top stories we read out to you. And don't forget, our phone lines will also be open for you to call in and join the conversation. We'll be right back. Do stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. You're still on to the press, reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. We've now been joined by our guest, Engineer Toba Owojaiye, who's a public affairs analyst, to help us analyze most of the top stories we read out to you earlier. And this is also the segment where our phone lines are now open for you to join on the conversation and let us know exactly what you think on most of the topics we're going to be discussing this morning. Engineer Toba, you're welcome to the studio.
Good morning.
Good morning. Again. Should I say Happy New Year?
Yes, Happy New Year. Good to see you after like five months.
Well, a long break, I should say. You're welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
And I'm so happy to have you join us this morning.
I'm glad to be here.
Even though most of the topics we're going to be discussing are not the kind of topics we probably need to smile about. And, you know, there's been a lot of rancor. Last weekend, we had to deal with the Benue massacre, and people were beginning to talk about the fact that, oh, the food basket of the nation is gradually becoming the blood basket of the nation. And now talking about that, we are now switching. Another weekend again, we're talking about Plateau massacre. This insecurity seems to be coming so frequently. And we hear the president ordering the CDS to do something, ordering the chief of defenses to do something, do this, do that. But it doesn't seem like it's ending anytime soon. And it's looking like one life matter than the other. And most Nigerians, it seems like most of the time people easily move on from most of this sad news and bad stories, except maybe your family members are strongly involved. But what do you think we can do in this case? And where are we headed, especially looking at this Plateau massacre again? Are we sure that we're not going to have another occurrence in another state by next weekend or in the next few days?
Insecurity is one of the hardest things to stop in a country once you let it start. 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have kidnappings of this sort. But now it has become a business. And once you get people to taste of an illegal way of making money that becomes easy for them to make money, to get the same people to stop is an issue, except you make large statements which those caught doing the same thing. You understand? So the first thing we need to look at is the political angle to all of this. This is not just happening. There's an economic angle to this, there's a religious angle to this, there's an ethnic angle to this, there's an economical angle to this, and there's a political angle to this. And all of this are in play. If you notice, the greatest attacks are on the middle belt. Benue, Plateau. There's not even any resistance now in Nasarawa, so there's no fight there. It is from Nasarawa that these people go through. And you see, when people say soldiers should cut them, they are not walking on the road. They are not walking past the road. They have their own routes. The way Africa is drawn, they have their own routes that are not your own routes. So they just come through one angle that you don't even know, deep in the bush. The issues are that these people are very comfortable in the bush where you are running away from to the city. And they are interested in grabbing land. So while everybody in the village is running to the town to get jobs, they are waiting for you to completely leave so that they take over those villages for their own purposes. So this must be fought, this must be understood. The president has come up with national forest guards. We have 1,169 registered forests in Nigeria. 1,169. Sambisa is just one. So when you have these areas, people do not really stay in those areas. Only few villagers stay in those areas. How do you protect them? Underneath them, there is mining. Let's assume that a whole village, if you sell the land, is worth 20 million, and yet the minerals under that village is worth 20 billion. And the people are not aware that they are sitting on gold. Now, the people who get this information are not government. They come in quietly, create get bandits or whatever to flush off the people of their ancestral home, because they know that these people will not on their own leave their ancestral home. How do you remove a grandmother that is 89-year-old from the place she has lived all her life? She's not moving anywhere. There's no place you will offer her that she would move. So these are the issues. So they use insecurity to clear off those people from their villages, and use insecurity to keep them away from the villages, so that the actual mining goes on. And these are illegal mining. So the government is putting up, has even banned mining in many states last year. And we said, even though the government bans this thing, we know people will still do it. We have illegal airports in this country. I'm not joking. I mean, we have illegal airports. There was a time when Zamfara State ordered a no-fly zone in a state that doesn't have an airport. So what was flying? Which is? These are the issues we're saying. We saw a video in Kogi State of an airport, an airstrip that is in a bush. Minerals are being carted away from this country in droves. And this is part of what is fueling the insecurity. There's land grabbing, but there's also illegal mining, that the people doing this, making billions, do not care for 200 lives. These are the issues that we must face. The president must fund the forest guards. The military must be up and doing. We need evidences to this. That's why sometimes some of us don't want to speak, because if you keep saying this, they'll keep asking you for evidences. We expect the military to fly drones. Get these things happening in real time. Yes, a few people will still die while you are doing that, but get it recorded. Track these people from when they are moving from wherever they are moving from to when they get to the villages, to where, let's have it. You see, the greatest thing you can do against evil is to expose it. Get their audios, get their videos, get them from where they walk to when they get to where they come to do mayhem.
You talk about exposure. The question is, how many issues that are exposed are actually being handled? They probably just are swept under the carpet, but that's on one side. You also talked about forest guards. How much can they really do? There's been conversations around community policing, yes, state policing here and there, but that has not even been established yet. If you talk about forest guards, maybe from the federal level, do they really know so much more than even those in the community?
They were picked, the rate is wrong, they were picked by the states. The states would bring between 2,000 or 3,000 people who will now be recruited into the forest guard. So it's not like the federal government is the one doing the direct recruitment. The states are the one bringing people from communities to form the forest guards. They get uniforms, they will get arms, they will get cars. This is not the best way forward, but it's a very good way forward. Another thing that has been said 2 weeks ago that we need to come back to, because you see, the way news happens now, too many things happen, people are not able to keep track on the issues that are most important that we need to hold on to. The head of the military said we need to fence Nigeria. We need to wall Nigeria, and I agree with him 100%. Especially on the northern parts of Nigeria, on the coastal parts of our country. I don't see why we need to wall that, because there's nobody coming in through the oceans to come and give us any issues, right? But on the northern part of Nigeria and on the flanks of our country, people can just stroll into this country. So we have people who come into this country not speaking any dialect that is major here. They don't have any affinity to us. So killing people is not anything special to them. We need to wall Nigeria.
We have some sort of foreign invasion when it comes
we surely do. And also, I want to mention that Saudi Arabia has walled his borders from these people. Egypt has walled itself from these people. You cannot have a completely porous place where anybody can come in, do anything, and go out. We won't work. It won't work that way. That's why houses have fences. That's why estates has fence. If anybody thinks it's right, remove all the fence from your house and your estate and see what happens to you. Remove your door.
Okay, Engineer Toba, you see, most of the time, what I've realized is that we tend to handle reactive measures a lot, and we leave the proactive measures. I know talking about, putting walls by our borders is part of a proactive measure.
Very proactive.
Actually. And then let's talk about the place of intelligence as well. Would we say that we live in a country where we don't even know what's happening? We have data all the time. They'll tell you to provide your BVN, your NIN, your international passport number, if possible. They have to synergize all these things. But at the end of the day, people that commit some of these crimes, that collect ransom, do they not use mobile phones? Are they not traceable? We have artificial intelligence that we can actually take advantage of. The technology is advancing every day, right? So why is it that we're still lagging behind in the aspect of maybe getting proper intelligence, knowing what is happening per time, and until events happen, then we have orders being made, situations being reported, in fact underreported sometimes. Okay,
let me use Hamas and Palestine as an example. Most times, whoever you call terrorists to somebody else is a freedom fighter.
Absolutely, I agree. Not just there, everywhere.
I want to use that. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. I'll say that again. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. So from that perspective, while you are trying to eradicate him as a terrorist, another person is seeing you as trying to kill their freedom fighter. This is the issue. People fetch water for them. People cook for them. People sell them bread. People sell them drugs. People sleep with them. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. This apathy, this tolerance that the people around those areas have for them, especially if that's where they're coming from, not where they're going to attack, is why even if you give information, they will tell them where you're coming from. They will tell you where you're going to. And we've seen in some villages where the villages also even report these people. And 6 months, 3 months down the line, the same people are now repented terrorists, are now recruited into the forces. So when they go back to that same village, oh, you guys are the one that told on us, I'll wipe them all out. So these are the things that make it hard for people to tell on these people, and this is why this war is hard. It's having the emotional. That's what I wanted to use
that's what
Hamas.
I see.
Hamas, as much as we are saying Hamas is bad, the Palestinians like them.
Just a minute. Sorry to cut you there, because this whatever you just created now, like the mental picture you just created now, when you described maybe a situation where the villagers tell on these people, and then eventually they come back and they say they are repentant and eventually get recruited into the forces and get back at the people. The point is, when I talk about intelligence gathering, we know that identities should not be unveiled.
Identity of who?
Of whoever is sharing information. And intelligence gathering, there are different ways to gather intelligence, right? It doesn't have to be, oh, you're reporting information to me and I'm knowing you and I'm noting you. If we actually want to get better at this, if we really want to have a headway, when information are shared, they say, see something, say something, right? Whoever is seeing something, whoever is saying something should have their identity anonymous. So how should those kind of information really get back to those who are being told on?
You see, we're talking about villages here. Let's get that right. Most of them don't even have a phone that has high technology. They use a small phone. So if you give an information in a small area, a village is like neighborhood gossip. Everybody knows virtually everybody in that place. So the ability to put high tech to it is hard. And what I'm saying is the apathy to this is spread within even the forces. I will go back to a lady that was killed in Air Force in the barracks. A car reversed in the barracks and killed her because she was one of the greatest fighters and shooters. It's people within the system that you are killing our people too much. I am saying that the whole system has lapses and it cannot be fixed overnight. That's why I'm coming back to where people can shout, what is the president doing? What? You don't even know the gravity of the problem on ground and the efforts being put. Because there's apathy to this, we need to get them to understand that these things you are petting, this lion, this baby cub you've kept in your house is growing. And one day it will come for your own children. And the North is also experiencing that now. We are seeing other states crying out. But now it's reducing a bit. They are coming to a negotiation. That's why you see them saying, you will see them having meetings with the terrorists. And saying they are looking for peace. They are looking for settlement. They want to give them money because it's their brothers. This is why Nigeria is making no headway. Let's be very honest with ourselves. So if I get an intelligence, I'm even afraid who to share it with.
Because you don't know who to trust.
Because you don't know who to trust. And you don't know who's coming for your kids next. I sincerely do not believe that Lagbaja just died of cancer. I'm sorry to say. This is what I know about the fight. So people can see the president. What are you doing? You are doing rubbish. Get out of it. Replace him. Even these attempts can be a ploy to get the president out. We saw it happen to Goodluck. I'm sorry to say. This is the Nigeria we are in.
Now let's look at it from the political perspective, because you mentioned that it has so many undertones. I see Obi, we must act now to save Nigeria. Obi slams Tinubu over insecurity and corruption. Do you think it would have been different if there was another president on the throne?
You're putting me on the spot again.
Yes, because you just mentioned that it could also be a ploy to get the president out.
Okay. I'm hoping to move my kids out of this country in a few months, possibly, so that I can speak very freely. Yes, because I'm not afraid to die, but I think I care for my kids. Okay? And don't think what we're doing here is a joke. This is serious talk. MKO clearly won an election. That's one of the only elections in Nigeria that nobody has argued the results. MKO was a Muslim, MKO was a Southerner. And then a few people decided that no, he's not our brother enough to be president. So the election was annulled. Is it the same cabal that, you know, people think that we just now see an Obi and just now say, okay, come and take? There are levels to this fight. I've mentioned something here that Deborah was killed in Sokoto State, and the next day Igbo shops were being burnt in another state that's far from that state, and she's not an Igbo lady. She's not Igbo at all. I'm trying to say that there are many factors in this country that people don't even consider when we are talking about power. I am saying that there are cabals in this country that do not even consider a Yoruba Muslim as worthy enough to be a president. That's what I'm saying. These are the realities on ground. And we need to know it. We need to begin to think about it. We need to begin to plan for it. We saw how to remove good luck from office. They allowed insecurity. They allowed kidnapping. But I agree that good luck should have been removed. I agree. I didn't know that then, but I know that now as a politician. Good luck should be removed, should have removed. But it did not need insecurity to remove him. Just let everybody understand politics, understand the narrative, and let's all understand it, and let's all vote in that direction. If we need to remove Tinubu, we don't need to create insecurity and kill 2 million of us before we peacefully remove him. And I'm not saying him, I mean anybody. But these things need to be known. This insecurity is not something to pet for long. Saudi Arabia doesn't take it. Egypt doesn't take it. Dubai doesn't take it. If you notice, those guys don't take in immigrants. Even though they are the same culture, the same religion, they wall their countries. Because they're not willing to stomach and allow your nonsense to come and destroy their country. We need to think this way. And it's a tough decision. But we need to think this way.
Quite deep.
Yes.
You know, because you mentioned MQ Abiola, there's this headline that says June 12 annulment claims. Presidency bombs Lamido, and Ryder says disappointing that Lamido would attempt to rewrite history for political reasons. Lamido and Ehi wrote their names in Book of Infamy by negotiating with Abacha. Now there's a conversation around the fact that President Bola Tinubu was he wasn't a pro-democratic person. He was supporting the annulment of June 12 elections and all of that. And presidency is saying Lamido is probably making a mistake and trying to rewrite history. What's your take on that story?
Do I like this line of work that I'm in? Those who control the present try to rewrite the past. Tinubu was a senator. Tinubu was part of those who stood and pushed for democracy to be sustained as at that time, and had to flee for his life, and had to host and lodge many of the people who also fled for their life at the time. So and there are pictures to show where he had this, his cap, he was making a call. I don't know if people have that picture, where Abiola and MK are working together and Tinubu was standing behind them making a call. These are not people with new relationships. But in order to decimate people, propaganda is used. First of all, make it questionable. Make the past questionable. First of all, you don't have to completely scatter it, just make it questionable. And then bring more narratives so that this is simple propaganda. And Lamido is somebody I respect very well. That's why I'm really careful what to say about this. He has done a lot of good for Nigeria. But also in the same breath, he has also told us that he's willing to work with the coalition to kick out APC. So I would want to take all of this in one statement. That his timing of saying this and his timing of coalition, I can batch them in one statement and let anybody make of it what they want. But he's a great man that I respect.
So you're trying to say that statement is very political? Very political. That's where you're headed. Well, talking about politics, we have the new party, ADA, and there are conversations that PDP is saying they are not acceptable. So what do you make of that? APC has remained silent. But PDP seems to be fighting against this coalition that happens to be a combination of some members. Like we have the former president, Atiku Abubakar, and we have the ex-governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, as those championing that party at the moment. And PDP tend to say no to that. What's your opinion?
It's all still politics. They jumped to SDP, and then SDP made it clearly known that whoever is coming has to join the queue from behind. They jumped to ADC. I really didn't even see who was fighting them in ADC that made them run away from ADC again. For heaven's sake, if you are that big and strong and you cannot take over ADC, not SDP, you cannot take over the structure of ADC. Please, who is in ADC? If you can't take over the structure of ADC, what are you doing in politics? I just ask honest questions. Tell me 2 members of ADC. So are you saying you can't remove you can't take over the structure of a simple party of that nature?
At least like Obi did with Labour Party.
Very simply, Obi came at the tail end. There were candidates there. The 2 main candidates stepped down for him. Exactly. He took over the party, and it was even a far bigger party than ADC. So I'm even wondering, what is the credential of these people who cannot take over ADC? Well, but we are happy with the coalition. There are benefits. It will make the government sit up. It will give another opportunity for the people to make another choice. It will make the opposition come together. This coalition was what we begged them to do in 2022, and the same people were too proud to do the same coalition, and at that time they were all in PDP. Atiku was in PDP, Kwankwaso was in PDP, Obi was in PDP, Wike was in PDP, and PDP was the big party. Please, let's quickly take this call. Let's take this call.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, you're welcome to the press. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Collins from University.
Oh, Collins, please join the conversation. Good morning.
Good morning. Is it about this coalition of the team?
Yeah.
If you look to it now, all these people forming this party, they are a bunch of politicians from PDP and some of the aggrieved members of the APC.
Yes.
One thing we have to understand is this. If really we need to tackle or to help the masses of the nation, why can't we bring ideas if government is not running well or things are not going? Okay, when PDP was in power for about 16 years or so, I know there are so many other parties that comes together before the government. But now we standing, now that we have yet to understand that things are not going well, why can't all these politicians come together, put an ideas together on how to bring way forward? All this coalition, I don't see any sense in it because they are all people that are from either from PDP or group parties or APC. So the coalition doesn't make any sense to me.
Alright.
If we are the one, let's focus on the present government, think of way forward, where we are lacking behind, especially the insecurity aspect. Now, there was a prophecy I got through media this morning from Professor Odele. He said the insecurity aspect in Benue State was man-made. So what are we saying? If this thing is happening like this, what thing I do remember is this. As you have that sword in killing somebody, have it in mind that that sword is also awaiting you sometime someday. So let's look more forward on how to bring things together, bring this government to our level, the way that we are all enjoying, both our children, not all this coalition of the team. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution. His opinion is that it's not even time for governance yet, probably time to tackle other issues, away from coalition here and there.
No, coalition is okay in my opinion, right? See, you need a one-party state is another story for another day. Is a one-party state the best thing for us or not? It's working for China. It's working for most developing countries that developed fast and became first world countries. Had a one-party state. Paul Kagame has been president since year 2000, in my opinion, and they reviewed the constitution for him to be president till 2034. He has been president since year 2000, but it has stabilized Rwanda. Rwanda has run well. So there are these questions. is this form of democracy really working for us? Do we have a government state in one place for long enough to bring development? Tinubu has not worked for 2 years, and he had never worked for 1 year when plans to remove him has started hitting the ground. So is our politics helping us? A government of 4 years already been pushed to enter politics from 1 year, and the government is already in full swing politics by 2 years when it's a 4-year tenure. So we're spending so much on politicking and less time on governance. Do you think a better singular 6-year term would be better? In my opinion, we need it. That's what we should do, so that we have more years for development instead of this constant political drag. But I agree, we need an opposition. We need the opposition strong. Elon Musk said something I love. He said, for you to change something, you need to bring another alternative that is far superior to what is on ground. We are talking of products here. Of course. Yes. So that when you want to bring something new and you take the people in that direction, bring something that is far superior, not something that is too close to it, because they will see enough difference and enough reason to move. Because I was about to ask that question. So I've looked at the opposition. How far different are they from the people? Amechi was the DG of Buhari's campaign at a point. The same man served eight years there. The same man joined to put a train from here to Maradi when there was no train in his own place. Is this just a reshuffle of those who have served before and want to stay in power? You see, once you have been in power before, what you are looking for is to remain there till death. So we see the same people recycling themselves. Is this anything different? I would have loved if the coalition was headed by VDM. Yes, give me a coalition headed by a young person that people are beginning to build a trust in. We saw it work in Senegal. We have a 44-year-old president there. Absolutely. Please, if you guys don't have it, clear off and let us have a young opposition that can stand these people and do something good. This is just the recycling of the same people. We are ordering this different soups in the same chef. You know, I'm beginning to wonder, having to decide to create another party, the coalition party, the ADA now, and having someone like former President Atiku Abubakar being a part of that party, do you think he might want to run on the ticket of that party as the president again? If Atiku doesn't run in 2027 and 2029, I'll sell my car for 1 million. If he doesn't run, I'll sell my car for 1 million. Find someone who buy. You see, it's just to understand people. The man has been running all his life. You see, politics is a swing, and that's where Atiku has missed it. He's not a bad person. In my opinion, he's not a bad person. He's a wonderful statesman. But he has missed it from the part that he doesn't know when to contest. Tinubu contested Senate once, got it. Tinubu contested governor once, got it. Finished by 2007, didn't contest nothing again. Waited. You see, politics is not always your turn. This is what. Then he waited till it was his turn, and then he now came to tell us that it is his turn and got it. So Atiku has completely missed the swing by always coming out every 4 years to always be president. He has weakened his chances because people are like, hello, it's like you're crying wolf. You cry wolf once, cry wolf. By the time you cry wolf 6 times and you now shout wolf, nobody's like, hello, you've been crying wolf since. So this is where he burnt his chance. But he's a good man. He's a good politician. I like his brand of politics. He's a great man, but I believe he has missed his chance. Let's talk about PDP, the People's Democratic Party. Okay. Now they're saying INEC can't stop their 100th NEC meeting, according to them.
Do you think that there's really anything worth waiting for in PDP? Do you think they have a chance come 2027? And do you think that this is the right time to really start this politicking drama that they've all been doing?
Okay, so when people say PDP said, I will try to explain what I mean by when PDP said.
Okay.
Somebody who is the NPS of PDP is on the opposing side of Damagun and Sam Anyanwu and the Wike faction.
Okay.
So he is on the Atiku side, but as much as he is on that side, he cannot be removed till the next. Same thing for Damagun and the rest. No matter how you are emotional about it, they cannot be removed until the next convention in November. So as much as they don't like him, he has the right as the MPS to make a press release whether Damagun likes it or not. This is the beauty of political parties. So he is saying that this will take place whether INEC agrees or not. This may not be the position of Damagun, the acting chairman and the secretary. But they can do nothing because this is his position and this is his stance. So it is just a big infighting. And where PDP is making this big mistake, once you continue this infighting, you are giving your politicians a clear legal ground to defect. Because the only legal ground to defect is if your party is in disarray. So the more they continue the disarray, the more they will see PDP people defect. So I really don't know what they are doing. And I don't think the Wike camp wants to contest against Tinubu, in my view. I don't see them bringing up a strong candidate. So the Atiku camp are like, no, we must, this is our chance.
I'm still wondering where Wike actually belongs, really.
Yes, the PDP man. You notice that Tinubu tried to say something nice some days ago, that the door is open for him if he wants to come to APC, and he said nothing. The last time his name was put on an APC committee, he removed his name immediately, and that night they removed his name and made a public statement. So he has not joined APC. He is staying put, but he is not contesting against Tinubu.
He's sitting on the fence.
Yeah, no, he's not. His plan is, let's leave Tinubu. Then 2031, PDP will be the party. We lost our chance when we had it. 2027 is not our chance. We will feel the weak candidate that will rest. In 2031, we will feel the northerner fully and go for the ticket. This is what I see.
Anyways, let's also talk about constitutional review. That's a conversation right now that's on the front burner. The Senate begins nationwide public hearing on constitution review, and they are planning to review the 1999 Constitution, and they have set to organize a comprehensive 2-day zonal public hearing in the country's 6 geopolitical zones. What aspects would you suggest when it comes to the constitutional review? But let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, you're welcome to the press. Please, your name and where you're from.
My name is Mazi Okurafo.
Oh, Mazi
Okurafo. Today is Monday.
Yes.
Now, when I look at one of these papers issues that was talking about aviation, cost of
fear. Air ticket.
Now, the aviation industry, the owners of airlines are telling us that the jet oil costs around 300
Yes.
They did. But the question is, the number of passengers they carry and the time elapses and the disappointment they feel, because it's very, very bad that every day the airlines continue increasing their money. It's not anything. By the time you come to the airport, maybe you buy online, maybe 90. So when you come, they will take the 190, 200 and something. Look, to travel from Abuja to Imo or to Port, it's very, very expensive, especially from Abuja to Imo State. Come there, you pay 240,000 naira a flight, a journey of 1 hour, which is not honestly. The aviation industry, they should consider people from Southeast, especially Southeast. I don't know why they continue exploiting that are going from Owerri, Port Harcourt, Owerri. Very interesting because no other state that they collect that amount. Honestly, the government should look into it. Good morning, Master Capron. Well, Iran and America and they should do the next what we need is peace. But World War will not solve any problem.
Absolutely.
World War will not. That's why I said that I will just bury everybody on earth. Let the sense be continually. Good morning. From United States.
Thank you so much for your contribution. I wanted you to talk about this, but before we get there, because I know Mazi Okorafor was talking about the FA from.
Yes.
Sometimes I have had experiences that by the time you board, there's really most of the seats are empty. So you're beginning to wonder, how do they even recruit the money? How did they get back the money that isn't to fly in the first place? But that's on the side. Now, talking about the constitutional review, what aspects do you think we need to look at in order for us to have better governance in the nation?
There are a few things. Number one, I don't like the fact that the Senate now and the House of Rep has now become a place where politicians retire. So you have the Senate full of ex-governors of all sorts. Virtually everybody in the Senate was once a governor somewhere. And it's not tenured, it's just 4 years. You can be in that position for 50 years. You can be there for your whole lifetime, for heaven's sake. We need to have...
That reminds me of how people were super happy when Ireti Kingibe came in to take out...
Yes. They're happy, but you see, if we go back to it, what has she done differently? But let's leave that...
People just wanted a change in...
Yes. So what I'm saying is, I think the tenure of a Senate person to be in the Senate should not be more than 8 years. Person should not have more than 2 tenures being in the Senate. Let them go and rest. You see, this is where we are having an issue. These people know nothing about business. How can you not be able to survive outside office? So for all the years you're there, you have pension, you have everything, but that need to stick to power, and this is what we are still saying. Coalition, the same people must want to come back to stick to power. What are you people looking for? This is the question that keeps coming to mind. We need to use the constitution to block that. We need to go back to regionalism. Let the region own their resources. This will help us fight insecurity. This will help people bring their resources to the table.
All right. Regionalism. I'll remember.
Yeah,
I'll remind you.
We'll come back to that.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from. Oh, we lost that. So back to what you were saying on regionalism.
Yeah, we saw years ago that the governor in Zamfara then brought gold to the table and lined them up, clean bars of gold. And then, this is more than 10 years ago, said this gold is worth, no, like 6 years ago, this gold is worth 5 billion. And we came and said, oh, wonderful, thanks for that gold. Now bring that gold to the federal so that all of us can share it, as you are also sharing our oil. Right? Since that day, we've not seen one gold again. These are the injustices in this country that make it lopsided. How are we able to use the oil from river states, from Bayelsa, to develop other states? How is it that 70% of the oil contracts in the South-South do not belong to anybody in the South-South? These are the injustices in this country that keeps us where we are. But if you make it more regional, and then they give maybe 20% to the federal government, everybody now holds their resources and brings it to the table. The people mining gold will have a gold company. They will pay taxes. They will own their resource, own what they do. You give them CSR, maybe do well, do borehole. We will bring the resources to the table.
1 minute.
Let's take the call.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, you're welcome to the press. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, I'm Mr. Jude calling from Abuja.
All right, Mr. Jude, please join the conversation.
Okay, welcome, my dear. So, I'm happy for the man with you there, because the problem Nigeria is having is no other thing than the politicians and especially the senators. If a governor will serve for 8 years in a state, and the person will make his way to Abuja maybe for 40 years, even if you bring an angel to be a president of Nigeria, they will forfeit the angel because they are already on ground, and they will direct the angel on what to do. So if they will make a senator a tenure like a president or and governor, 2 tenure, and if you lose out, that is it. You can go and sit down.
Right.
So that we can make a fresh law that will work and help the citizens. You cannot be in this place, whatever is coming from this region, other people will own it. And what is coming from their own, nobody touches it because it's their own. So how can this be a united Nigeria?
All right.
People come and talk something that people will applaud them for nothing. Because they make a good proposal, they make clap for them, the person will go and throw the paper out and begin to do another thing. We see some people will come to make a statement. They will write a list for them, the person will be reading with the hand, touching the line. And see some other developed countries, somebody will come and stand for an hour with that paper, and the person will tell you what is in the heart. This is from my heart, this is what I will do for my people, the people will not forget it. If I have to write to you now, for you to make a presentation, you will forget it because it's not from your heart.
Sure.
So let's just help our nation, help the unborn children to have access to their nation.
All right.
So that's just my own contribution. I pray that God will guide the people right.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you, sir.
contribution.
You're welcome, my dear.
Now it's like talking about this constitutional review and the senatorial seats, or the Senate now being a tenure-based,
Yes.
it's like having the legislators themselves shoot themselves in the leg. Do you think that's going to be possible?
Which is why we are saying that is the problem, because the people you are asking to make this constitutional review can hardly review it against themselves.
My thoughts.
Yes. So where we need, if in my opinion, we don't even need a Senate and a House of Assembly. We need one. We don't need both. I have not, people have explained it to me academically in all ways. I don't understand what we need it for. If I had my way, we wouldn't even have a Senate and a House of Assembly. We have 774 local government chairmen. 774. We will bring them in for 3 days every month to come and have a discussion on the matters they need to discuss. They are already local government chairmen wherever they are. We bring them in, they stay for 3 days, they discuss, they go back and go do their work. We are burning too much money on the way we are running this country, and the people, you cannot expect the same people to remove themselves. So I don't see what change this will bring.
Well, thank you so much, Engineer Toba Owojaiye, for that. Well, we look forward to the hearing and see how it goes for the constitutional review, and hopefully maybe they will truly be able to work something out that will probably stand against themselves.
I hope.
Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, viewers, thank you so much for being a part of the show today, and thank you for calling. And for those we couldn't take their calls, we sincerely apologize. We'll take them again tomorrow. I am Olamide Alhassan, and that's bye for now.